Oh, my babies. Oh, all right. Energy, energy. I learned something just now. Full page notes really only make me focus on a part of the note. So I need to do a better job at splitting the note in half. But I think we're all lucky because this is Thoughts and Our Opinions Part 2. So I started this note, and let me read it. I started this note with, do we really think or do we just have opinions? And I explained in part one the thought process that built towards this note. And the thought process was this: it's like, uh, if enough people sit around each other and kind of like discuss one thing, eventually they can create a concept out of it. Eventually they can bring it into reality. Eventually they can allow more people to engage with it, and eventually they can make it grow into a legitimate economic resource. That's a good word. And I heard it in, I read it in the book, what's it called? Ready, Set, Play. Ready Player One, sorry. Ready Player One. I read it in the book Ready Player One. And economic resource. It means a resource where people engage with, create value or add value or extract value. And that transfer, that communication that happens in between, is a form of currency that we can utilize in order for the economy to thrive. Remember, the entire basis of the economy is just people doing stuff. We all need to eat, and maybe we started with like farmers, basically. Whoever had the most land for the longest time were the actual leads in society. But things switched with technology, I guess, or with the whole industrial revolution. Like at one point, we started kind of like valuing different things, and it's perfectly fine. I really think we started valuing different things because we didn't have to survive the way we did before. But slow and steady, kind of like everything rhymes, rhythmically moves, comes and goes. But I'm going off topic. What the hell? Okay. So, do we really think or do we just have opinions? And my idea was if I were to work with people because we want to gamify society, we want to gamify society. I want to gamify society. I really think if we can, I found a way to translate authenticity digitally. I think when we do that, then we'll be able to kind of be, I don't know, just the people that you want to work with are the people that have built enough houses that haven't, I don't know, the contractor you want to work with is a contractor that built enough houses that haven't collapsed. And I think that merits a certain level and rank and setup. And some people are just like, they don't really want to grow big businesses, but they're good enough at their job and they are well deserving of the same pay as a big business simply because the value they provide is just as equal. But most of the time, I think we kind of like we notice the bigger thing and we pay more money for it, but we forget the smaller people. And these people that are like actually the ingenuitive ones, actually the creative ones, they're the ones that figure out the new stuff, and the bigger companies kind of like invest in them and steal their ideas or just kind of like copy it. And ultimately, I think society and as a culture has to like refresh. So whoever does something new needs to like it's our responsibility as members of society to be with them, to make sure they rise until they bring their thing to whatever it is, to whatever it could be or whatever they want it to be. And then at that point they get to fucking decide if they want to do more or less, whatever it is. Like, but ultimately, if somebody's doing something, I think everyone should be able to like bring it out. But how can we notice them? How can we see them? How can we see the truth behind it? How can we see the honesty behind it? How can we see the fact that they're actually doing something, not just like posting it online or doing all kinds of things? I went on a rant for no fucking. Whew. All right, I got a bit excited on that one. But hey, that's literally what I'm trying to do. So I was thinking in the previous video, I was trying to explain how random people would meet and make random decisions and concepts and build on top of them. And eventually they become so real in how they're explained that people are able to use them and people are able to thrive using them. and people are able to go either way, right? Like because I mentioned like the شو اسمه, the independence. What's the name of the sheet? The fuck. And I mentioned communism as well. So like there's the statutes, I don't know, the 10 amendments that people spent like years thinking about as a group and wrote them down. It's just a bunch of 20 something year olds that were just like horny for like something new and different and like righteous and all that good stuff. And the same on the other side of the world, right? But the other side of the world kind of like fucked up. Anyways, so why can't people just sit with each other and kind of like make decisions, and how would those people be? And it's got me thinking, like, do we actually think, or do we just formulate opinions and kind of like test out? We spend one time trying to prove the right or one time trying to prove the wrong. And with this kind of like, no, that's an interesting thought. It becomes an opinion that you can impose basically on your own reality. And I try to talk about opinions in a very kind of like the pragmatic way, because I know that opinions could actually last. But for me, maybe we could find a different word than opinion, because just like I don't know, like a certain positive feeling towards a certain thought, maybe, or a certain concept that's built in your head, or that you're kind of like seeing as a good thing, or a thing that you want to bring to this world. It's an opinion of yours. I think this would do better, or this would save things, or this would like help things, or maybe this would like make money. I don't know. All of them are kind of like ideas become opinions, and then these opinions, if you follow through with them, then ultimately they kind of like either prove to be correct or prove to be wrong. But there's a methodical way to approach it, but you actually have to be methodical in your approach. So you have to be methodical in your approach towards the methodical way of approaching it, because the way itself is methodical, and you need to figure that out, and you have to figure out how you would approach things in a methodical way in order for the way to actually work. It's it's not fascinating. It's just literally like any chance you feel like you're actually doing something that's 100% and you're sure of it, that's the first thing you need to do, is doubt yourself. First thing you need to do is like, how can I fuck this up? This way. Let me try to fuck this up. Ah, it worked. I could fuck this up this way, which means I have to think now of ways for me to avoid fucking this up. And by doing that, you basically destructure your thoughts and bring it down to its raw form, to reality, where there's nothing that you can do that could be a mistake anymore, simply because you've literally just like ran through purposely ran through all scenarios that are potentially existent. And you have yourself as a reference, because the minute you're like talking about something confidently, something could go wrong. That's the first time. That's the first thing you need to do. That's a thing in business as well. I was reading it. I forgot the book, Psychology of Money. No, I think Think and Grow Rich. It was saying like it's often people, when businesses are going bad, they start planning and thinking. But the reality is, when businesses are going good, they could actually take space back and they can start like preparing for different things. Because that's when you actually have the time. And if things are going smoothly, that means anything that could happen could like push you down. So that's when you create havoc in your head, so that it does not actually exist in reality anymore. So my question was, do we really think, or do we just have opinions? I don't know if I'm actually able to explain it. I really think all we're able to do is formulate opinions on our thoughts. And that's what we consider thinking. I really think anytime human beings start to think, what they effectively do is stand in their own way. And they screw themselves over, because they kind of like get fixated on whatever their thoughts, the thoughts that they chose to think about are. And Alan Watts talks about it. It's just fucking beautiful, man. That dude says, people who only think have nothing to think about but thoughts. Because if you're actually doing the thinking, then ultimately what you're doing is you're going in circles around the things that interest you, and that pushes everything that might change your sense of direction out of the equation. Because like, why, you're involved right now, so that's all I'm gonna do. And I was thinking about how do we actually do this? And who are the kind of people that do this? And I was really thinking about it and sitting like kind of randomly wandering in the house. And I was like, no, how would I do this? What kind of people would actually want to consider this kind of stuff? What are the things that we think could be important enough for us to just take time and formulate random opinions, break them down and formulate them again and break them down and formulate them again and break them down and see where that takes us. Step by step, ounce by ounce, we eventually establish the concept at the core and we allow it to present itself and kind of like be created properly. I love this shit, dude. I don't know. At some times, man, I actually like, I can't even imagine what my life would look like without this. But 3 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this, even if I had like, I don't know how to explain it. I couldn't have imagined me thinking about this kind of stuff 3 years ago. I always dreamt big, but I always looked at life from what I can extract out of it, not what I can actually put into it. And that thought process, like that just concept of like, if I want more, then I actually literally have to be the one putting instead of the one I can't be thinking of taking. Changed my fucking life, dude. It's a fucking video. Skadoosh.